I run a six-figure content marketing agency where we have managed to acquire over 25 clients in the last 2 years using various acquisition methods. Moreover, I worked as an SDR for clientacquisition.io where I was managing conversations with around 10 new agency owners every single day, inquiring about their acquisition infrastructures right now, how agencies going, what are their pain points, struggles. So based on the insights that I've gathered over the years, I'm going to be ranking all the popular client acquisition methods, sharing their pros and cons. And towards the end of this video, I'll share my 2C on how I would go about building the best client acquisition infrastructure moving into 2025 and beyond for SMMA. So on the screen right now, I have a list of all the popular acquisition models and their types based on the strategy and platform. For example, for cold outreach, it can be further divided into email outreach, Loom outreach, social. So for content, I'm primarily referring video content, right? So since video content is very versatile, you can repurpose it into short form content. You can take this transcript, convert it into a blog post, and then generate text-based post for Twitter using AI, stuff like that. So that is how I've categorized different segments of each of these models. So if you have to rank each of these categories, that's going to be a whole separate video, but I have taken the main model and that is what we'll be ranking in this video. So we'll be using the standard tier list ranking system that is popular on YouTube. And as you can see, I have listed down the different models here. Let's get started. So first up, we have cold outreach. This is probably the fastest and easiest way of acquiring clients because you proactively reach out to a potential customer with your offer. Now, the level of effectiveness will depend on the strategy you're following and the channel of outreach you choose. There are various channels you can go about, for example, cold email, cold calling, SMS, social media. What makes it more attractive is its personalized selling nature. You get to talk to your prospects and know their pain points, and you can sell better understanding once you understand their pain points, and you can personalize your messaging. Again, depending on the channel of outreach you choose, it can be very cost effective to get started with. For example, with social media outreach, there is literally no cost attached to messaging someone, whereas with email, you might have to get softwares and buy leads before you start with outreach. And another reason this is one of my favorite ways of acquiring clients is you get to hear from your customers, right? You can know what are their requirements, you know what they do want, so that based on which you can optimize your service and make it more attractive to your ideal customers. So for those reasons, I'm more inclined to place this in the S tier. But what makes me reconsider is it takes really high volume in order to see results with cold outreach because it has really high rejection rates. And another problem with this is if your messaging sucks, it can be pretty intrusive on the customer's end, right? So if you're not offering value upfront, if your messaging is a bit spammy, you might do more damage than good for your brand. To further double down on that point, the biggest problem with cold outreach is there is a huge gap between someone being interested in your offer versus them actually buying, and that gap is trust. Since you're reaching out to someone and they probably have not heard about your offer or brand before, this is the biggest gap that you need to fill in order to actually make them buy. So for those reasons, I would be placing cold outreach in A tier. Now moving on to the second type of acquisition model, that is content. When I'm referring to content, I'm mainly talking about video content because that is probably the best type of content you can create. It's more visual, it connects with your audience better, it's more versatile, meaning you can repurpose them into, if you're creating long form, into shorts, use the transcript to generate blog posts, and use AI to generate social media posts based on those transcripts. There is a lot of stuff you can do with video content. The only biggest drawback with content is it takes time to see results. That is the trade-off you'll be making to see amazing results that content has to bring in, right? There's a time delay from the moment you start creating content to when you actually see results. But once you reach a certain stage where you have a decent size of audience built up and have a number of videos posted on your channel, you'll be thanking yourself as your content will be generating leads and clients on inbound, on autopilot, even when you're not working. That is one of the best things you can do for your brand. Right. And also referring back to the previous point that I mentioned, trust is the biggest contributor to a sale in this economy, right? Content helps you to build trust with your potential clients, which is going to be paramount in your sales process. And what makes content very attractive for an online business is it's very scalable strategy with compounding results, meaning the work you put in now will have a compounding effect in the long run, even without you having to actively put in efforts to generate leads. And there are a lot of other benefits that I can just rant about on content, like your audience or people in your niche seeing you as an authority figure because of the audience size you have built up, the following you have, the expertise you provide, and the sheer value they can get from your content for absolutely free. So that's what makes content really valuable, because you're giving people value upfront even before you ask anything. So that's going to be very effective strategy if you want to build trust and get someone closer to that buying process. And along with generating leads directly from content, you can leverage content with your other acquisition efforts to further nurture those leads and warm them up and again build trust with them. There are all these reasons that I can use to basically place content in the S tier, and also it's the service that we sell. But I'm going to place this in the A tier as well because of the time delay it has. So that is probably the unbiased opinion I can give about content. So the third type we have is paid ads. Now paid ads work great if you're at an intermediate stage and if you have a decent budget that you can allocate towards acquiring clients. If you're completely new to paid ads, it involves a lot of trial and error to figure out something that works. But once you figure this out, you get fast results with measurable ROI. That's probably the best part about paid ads. It's just like dialing up the numbers, and it's very straightforward approach. When we are talking about paid ads, there are various types involved here as well, like PPC, which is search ads, social, direct response ads. Effectiveness of all of this depend on your niche, offer, messaging, which you can figure out by doing basic market research, right? So you need to figure out where it is most effective for you to advertise for your niche. But trial and error is not just the biggest drawback with paid ads, it's also that there's a big learning curve in order to make it work. If you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't appoint someone who knows what they're doing, you might just end up spending a lot of cash for absolutely nothing. And not to mention it, there are a lot of moving parts to paid ads. It's not as simple as just getting traffic, but you need to have a really solid funnel built to convert this into leads, and you need to have a good backend system to actually nurture these leads to convert them to paying clients. But most importantly, you need to have some qualifiers in place in order to make sure that the quality of leads that are coming in are really high. Otherwise you might just end up spending time on leads that are not really highly qualified. As hard as it sounds to master ad creatives, work on campaign structure, stuff like that, if you appoint someone who knows what they're doing, and if you have right strategy in place, paid ads are still one of the best ways of acquiring clients, and it's pretty straightforward way of acquiring clients. And the best part is you can just crank up the volume if you have the budget to do so. That's what makes it more attractive, is the scalability with paid ads. But looking at the drawbacks, it's definitely not in the S tier, but if you want to place it in the A tier, we might have to reconsider, and it might not work for all types of services. And for those reasons, I'm going to place that in B tier. Now moving on to the fourth type of acquisition model, that is community based. Over the last couple of years, building a community on platforms like School has been an acquisition model that is in the highlight due to recent collaboration between Alex Hormozy and Sam Owens. But even long before that, this model has proved to work great on platforms like Facebook groups, Slack or Discord channels, etc. Right? This is mainly because you get to build authentic connection with your members, you can position yourself as an expert, and you actually own the audience, right? So that is probably the main advantage here. But the main thing that we need to consider here is how you're going to actually fuel the growth of these communities. It's going to be really hard if you don't have an already existing traffic source that you can then leverage to bring people into these communities, or if you already don't have established personal brand. Growing this community is going to be difficult, which makes me consider this acquisition source as a secondary method. So since how hard it is to actually fuel the growth of these communities, I would place this in the C tier. Now moving on to the fifth type, and probably a less popular way of acquiring clients, is through strategic partnerships. This is where you collaborate with other agencies with complementary services, or you simply provide white label services. A simple example for complementary business is an SEO agency partnering up with a web development agency. Now this model sounds really attractive due to its low acquisition cost, and you can leverage trust and credibility of your partners, right? But I have tried building strategic partnerships with other agencies multiple times in the past, and it never seemed to work for me. Maybe this is because of the type of service that I'm offering, but also what I found is you have less control over the type or quality of clients you're getting, which can then lead to discrepancies between two agencies in quality of service and their goals and vision. Even though on paper this model sounds really attractive, and it is really effective if you have certain types of service that you offer, or if you find really good fit that have the quality standards that you have set for yourself, then it can work great. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to make this work. And based out of experience, there are a lot of different things that you cannot control, like expectations, quality of the other partner. So for those reasons, I would place this in a D tier. Now moving on to the sixth type, and again a less popular way of acquiring clients, that is through marketplace and platforms. I'm mainly referring here to freelance platforms, B2B directories, job boards, listings. Now I have used this method to acquire clients. In fact, I had a level 2 seller profile on Fiverr. It works great to acquire clients, but I think the downsides overpower the upsides here. This model is attractive because you can get in front of solution seeking audience who are basically warm leads, right? So if you know people with an intent or actual need for the services that you're offering, it's going to be really easy to sell. But the problem lies with the competition, right? So with these platforms, there are multiple other people that are competing. Not to mention, these recruiters are mainly looking for freelancers or people for full-time role and completely avoid agencies. So that's also another downside with this. And even if you manage to get interest from certain prospects, the problem is, due to the sheer competition, you always have to play with price. There's always someone who is willing to offer this same job at a lower price. So if you want to build a sustainable business, that is not really a profitable model, right? But still, depending on the type of services that you're offering, this could be a really smart way of acquiring clients. Because recently I was having a conversation with an agency owner who runs Webflow agency. So basically they do web development through a platform called Webflow. If Webflow has a directory of all the teams that people could hire from. Most of her clients were from these directories, right? So depending on the type of services you offer, depending on your niche, this could be a really good acquisition model. I wouldn't say it's very predictable, but still you can get some clients if you find out platforms where your ideal clients would be searching for services that you offer. So for those reasons, instead of placing this in the D tier list, I would go a step above and place this in the C tier. Now moving on to the final source of acquisition, that is referrals or word of mouth. Now this is going to be the winner, because if you are getting clients through referrals or word of mouth, that means you have really solid product. It is an amazing position to be in, where your clients are your own marketers, and it's a great indicator again that your service is amazing. And basically it just makes everything a lot easier, because the clients that you get through referrals or inbound are really easier to close. It's just the conversation is going to be based around what's the pricing, how the packaging is going to look like for them, and what's the arrangement is like. You don't have to sell the need for the service. You don't have to actually prove yourself why you're better than the competition or anything like that. The trust is going to be really high, and the conversion rate is going to be really high as well. And to add on to those benefits, the acquisition cost is close to zero, and it's fully organic, and the type of clients you often get are going to be really high quality. So the only drawback I can really think of here is it's not really scalable or predictable. So if you're just relying on referrals or word of mouth as your acquisition source, and you're not really filled up, you have room for more clients, or you want to scale, that it's a problem if you're just relying on referrals or word of mouth. But if you have other acquisition channels that you are using to get clients, but still referrals and word of mouth is also one of your primary acquisition source, then it's one of the best ways you can get clients through. So that, for those reasons, I'm going to place this in the S tier. So this would be the list for best acquisition models for SMMAs in 2025 and beyond. And let me know if you agree with this list down in the comments. So based on the tier list, this is how I'd personally go about building a solid client acquisition system for myself in 2025 and beyond. I'd have either cold outreach or ad campaigns running in the background to have a predictable flow of leads coming in. Once I have a predictable source of lead generation, I would focus on establishing my personal brand through content to mainly generate inbound leads, which has higher intent and more likelihood of generating a sale, and also to nurture and build trust with leads that is coming in from other sources. And also, content is going to be really paramount to build something that is more long term and scalable, right? Something that I can call of my own. Along with these models, I would really focus on having great service as a first step, so that I can collect good testimonials from clients, build good case studies, and most importantly, how my clients recommend more business. I think that is a really ideal position to be in. And personally, I would totally avoid strategic partnerships and marketplace, as I feel like you'd spend a lot of time for a very minimal return. Even though you generate some results, it's going to be not worth it for the time you need to spend. And optionally, I might build a community on the back of the traffic that is being generated from these sources. But still, this is going to be highly tentative because it's better to focus on few key areas that is generating maximum output rather than spreading yourself too thin. So I hope you found this video insightful. Click on the video that is on the screen right now if you want to leverage YouTube to generate clients and put acquisition on easy mode. See you next time.